In today's video, we're going to focus on a really abstract concept, which is the value of utility. Now, you might just look at me and say like, hey, Wraith, a smoke's worth 300, a flash is worth 200. Like, that's the value of utility. It's a no-brainer. And that's not really what I'm trying to get at. What I'm getting at is for you to question, are you making the most out of your utility? Is what you're doing worth the amount of utility you're using? How can you optimize how you're using your utility? It doesn't matter if you're a noob who doesn't know how to throw nades, if you're an intermediate who's trying to build a team for the first time, or if you're a pro who's really trying to just own their game, right? Utility is really important, and I want you to start off with this thought experiment, okay? We're going to pretend we have to take a site, and I'm going to give you certain conditions. You're not allowed to make any sound, you're not allowed to use any utility, and you're all on your own. And I want you to imagine, try this out in an empty server if you can. I want you to imagine, how are you going to clear it? How long is it going to take? How are you going to check different angles? For example, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check this, and bam, there could have been an op right there. So I have to be very careful of how I take this angle. I have to jiggle that op shot out. Then as I'm starting to move further, maybe there's double angles I need to check. So I need to incorporate a crouch to avoid certain angles. So now I have to be very careful of my movement and my timing. Maybe as I'm progressing further, there's a crossfire I need to break. There could be a guy here or a guy right there. So how do I choose which angle I should be peeking and which angle I turn my back to? Maybe as I'm checking all of these, there's a CT who could swing from right here and just kill me because I'm not even looking at them. So rotations are a problem. There's so many different problems that you would run into when you're going to dry clear a site like that. And I think this is really important. You should try this on every map control, every bomb site, every map you have, just to see, what do you understand? Where are the problems? Now let's try to ease those constraints we put on. Let's imagine you had a teammate with you. How would things change? Well, maybe as I was clearing the rest of bomb site, my teammate could be holding the rotation for me. So I know that like a certain angle is being watched. I don't need to worry about someone swinging it. Maybe we can break crossfires together where I check one angle, they check the other. Let's take out another constraint. Maybe you're allowed to make sound. How does that change it? Well, that means instead of having to jiggle corners slowly, maybe you wide swing an angle, right? Maybe you can incorporate jumping to like spot people behind certain angles. Your movement and the sound you're using is something that since you're no longer being constrained upon, you have more options. And now let's consider you actually have utility. What difference does it make? For example, are you worried about rotation swinging on you? Well, now you can use utility to cut them off. So you've isolated the site, right? Are you worried about op angles that, someone's already posted on an angle and they're guaranteed to get a kill? Well, now you can use flashes to get them off that angle, take that angle away from them. Are you worried about spots in which a CT might be anchoring or hiding? Well, now you have utility to throw that can actually disrupt their position. In all these cases, you started off with a dry contact example and identified problems, things that were slowing down how easily you could get map control. Problems in terms of these are not advantageous fights you're taking. And now you actually can come up with the reasons where you need utility. Now, the utility that people are using in the scene is already well identified, and you could immediately start using that. But first of all, it might not be at your level. Other things are, you might not actually need that utility. You might need some completely different utility. So what I'm trying to teach you in this video is how to think for yourself, how to come up with justifications of how to use utility and make sure you make the most out of it. When you're executing A, I always recommend Molotoving under bulk because this is just a very strong anchor spot. Now you might question, how did I come up with that? Like, did I just watch a lot of demos, which I did, and then just learn, okay, this is the fundamental reason why people Molotov that? Yes. And I want people to be able to do that for themselves. I don't want you having to go online looking up 100 different nade videos or strategy videos and just copy pasting them. I want you to look at all of them, think critically, and identify what's the most important for you to use in your own game. So even if you're a pro and you're thinking, man, this guy's talking about some really dumb stuff, hopefully that thought experiment was challenging, mentally provoking to you. How do you clear a site all on your own? And with those things, now you can actually be creative with your own utility. For example, maybe in a one-on-one situation, you don't actually need to smoke the rotation points. Maybe you just drop a one-way smoke on site and use it to plant, and you can play around that. All these things, all these justifications of utility, you can only come up with when you think critically. So hopefully you like this video.